Welcome back to Peace, Love and Tarot. This reading is for Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Rising, and it's the weekly reading for the week of July 22nd to the 28th. Your cards this week: Scorpio, energies, leaving, completing or transitioning. You have the Six of Swords. Focus energies this week, you have the Two of Wands clarified with the Page of Swords, and we have the Knight of Swords coming in towards the end of the week. So Scorpio, now we don't have major arcana here this week, which is absolutely fine, but what this can mean is that it's not a earth-shattering, life lesson, karmic cycle, beginning or ending, that kind of thing. So really it could be something a little bit less significant playing out, but still the cards here are quite powerful. So you will probably know that there's something going on. It's just not something that's absolutely rocking your world, which can be quite nice every now and then. So in your recent past, Scorpio, we have the Six of Swords. So the Six of Swords is all about moving on from something that wasn't working for you anymore. So it's something that could have caused you some emotional discomfort. I'm not going to go as far and say something like, emotional distress or, anything too tumultuous, because I don't think this is an absolutely, earth-shattering event for you, but something that caused you discomfort, right? So if you look in the card here, you can see the choppy waters here at the side of the boat, but we're sailing into a very calm, serene, peaceful environment here. So whatever it was, it was enough for you to think, okay, well, I don't really need this in my life anymore. It's not serving me the best that it can. So I am going to, make that. I'm going to make that move. I'm going to move on from it. So under the number of 6, which is that harmony and growth number, it was something that did disrupt your balance, your balance of harmony, and potentially something that you could see that if you stayed in it long term, that it was going to affect your growth and your spiritual development, that kind of thing. And actually I just saw something just then, Scorpio. I have a feeling that it could have been something that you left in its infancy, right? So it still could be quite a significant thing in your life, like a job, a relationship, whatever it may be, project you're working on. But I think you decided to pull the pin sooner rather than later, rather than to see it through, because you could see the patterns there, you could see the way it was triggering you, and you've decided, okay, let's move on now before it, in the future, if I pursue this opportunity and I end up in a tower moment. So something that you've come out of early, and it could have been something that at the start you kind of thought that it may, have a lot of potential, but when you saw those patterns coming up and those patterns, that in yourself, you've decided, okay, well, it's not right for me, and before I get too deep into this and I get hurt, I'm going to move on from it. The reminder with the Six of Swords is to try and leave those remnants of the past in the past, or those feelings that it triggered, or things that it pulled up. I'm seeing a boat anchor, pulling up, dredging from your depths. It might have actually made some things resurface. Try and just, not stuff them back down, but deal with them, heal them, but don't take them into your future. Don't take them on your new voyage with you. So, focus energies this week here, Scorpio. We do have, okay, we'll talk about the card behind in a second. We have the Two of Wands clarified with the Page of Swords. So, not surprised that the Page of Swords is here, because Page of Swords can be known as a wind of change card. So, you have made the move from something, that wind of change has turned. And when that wind of change turns, you're then left in a position of, where to now? What's my next direction? So, if you've kind of left this thing that you thought, okay, it had a lot of potential, and you were sort of banking on that a little bit for, to be your next steps, to be your next pathway. Now you find yourself at either a fork in the road or an opening, a clearing. I'm seeing a clearing, and there might be several paths out of the clearing of the forest, and you're sort of not too sure which one to take. So the Two of Wands is really the card of life review. So it sort of once again has that feeling of, past and future meeting in this moment. So, you know, this guy here, you know, it could be you standing in your clearing, but instead this guy here, you know, he's medieval, so he's standing up in the parapet of his castle. Now what he has here is a wand of the past tethered to the side of the castle. You can see it's still sprouting, so it sort of shows me that, you know, there is still a connection with the past. You know, those past memories and thoughts are still growing, they're still kind of seeding within you, but you have decided to, for now, turn your back on that and face the future. You're actually grasping the wand of the future here, and it's that message that, you know, you really do have the whole world in your hands, but you're really thinking about which way to go. And you can see that, you know, potentially if you really focus on that future direction, there's a lot to be gained. There's fertile pastures out here, rather than staying with what you know and staying maybe a little bit stuck in the past. So the message with the Two of Wands is, are you going to leave your comfort zone? You know, are you going to, you know, step beyond the clearing and go into one of those forested paths and see what's in there, even if you don't quite know where it's leading you to? That actually jumped out with the Knight of Wands, so we'll talk about that as well. So I feel like with that Knight of Wands here, this is you becoming a little bit more re-inspired. You've actually got two knights in your reading, so, you know, these do indicate a sense of action. You know, you are really ready to move on. And move on quite quickly as well. But the Knight of Wands is also all about, you know, action, inspiration, and passion. So I really think this is about you getting re-inspired about life again, re-inspired for that move, where in the past there's a bit of an energy of, you know, emotional kind of watery energy and a little bit of a sense of grief about moving on from this situation. But now we see you not only, you know, tentatively grabbing that wand of the future, but I think you're actually ready to run with it, or ride with it in this case. So re-inspiring yourself, all ready for action. I think you're just ready to go, you know what, I am going to jump over that castle parapet, ready to leave my comfort zone. Not only am I ready, but I'm actually ready to charge forward with it. Now I think the message here, the final message here is, even though you are ready to charge forward, I'm hearing just make sure you learn to walk before you run. Okay, because, you know, the Knight of Swords here, in coming in towards the end of the week, is the fastest moving knight of the tarot deck. But you can see from the card here that he just looks like he's in a big darn hurry, and sometimes, you know, you can try and move on too quickly. You can try and like I said, run before you walk, and that's when you trip up. So you just need to be careful that you're actually, you know, taking the time that you need, you're putting plans in place, you're doing your preparation, and, you know, sure, be on your horse and be charging forward, but maybe don't gallop quite yet. Otherwise you may come a little bit unstuck. The Knight of Swords came out with the Five of Cups, so, you know, you're charging forward, you're in a hurry, but if you gallop or run before you can walk, sometimes, you know, you might trip over some cups. And by that I mean trip over some emotions that you thought you'd left behind here, but you may have carried a few of them with you, and through trying to move on too quickly, they can maybe resurge, and you think, oh gosh, I thought I dealt with this, and I was all ready to move on. But because you've moved on too quickly, maybe not had that time for processing things, you know, the things can kind of come up, right, and put you back in that sort of sense of grief. You know, here you were in your red cloak of glory, all ready to move on, and here we see you back in a sense of grief. So, you know, the message with the Five of Cups is to allow those emotions to come up. The emotions of the cups that were spilt, of what was lost, you know, lost opportunities, lost loves, those kind of things. You know, allow them to come up, but heal them, you know, heal them. If you need to go and get some healing work done, or talk to somebody, or just, you know, sit and meditate and journal in it, make sure you do that. And then, you know, only then will you really be able to see the opportunities that are waiting for you and pick them up and run with them without, you know, going into a gallop before you're too ready. That's what I see there. So it's a really interesting reading, even though there's not any major arcana here. It is still, there's a real story unfolding for you here, Scorpio. So take time to hear what you need to from whatever this past situation it is, and yeah, just make sure that you don't run before you can walk, and that's your guidance for moving into this future opportunity with a sense of readiness. So Scorpio, thanks for joining me for the reading. Keep in mind it is a general reading, so it won't resonate with every Scorpio out there, but it will for some of you. And I'll be back here next week for another reading.